With that said, I am going to roll more or less straight through onto our first of two acts in the final section. Are we excited about that?
Woo!
So our next act is yes, another former Quantum Leopard competition alum, and they are based up in Manchester and run a wonderful thing called Blizzard Comedy, which is one of the nice things I like. One of my great ambitions is to become obsolete and superseded by a younger generation that push harder and further in the directions that I've originally intended than I have done. And that is very much what Blizzard are doing up north. So I look forward to their history burying me. So if you are ever in Manchester, do check them out. If you are ever online, which I've heard is a thing, I don't know. With a laptop of this quality, who knows? Who knows what could happen? But do check that out as well. But they're a very, very funny stand-up in their own right. Can I have a massive round of applause, please, for the fabulous, wonderful, the magnificent Jonny Collins?
Yay! Hello. How are you doing? Well, hello, Quantum Leopard. Thank you so much for having me here. This is honestly a dream of mine. I remember years and years ago when I was still at school, and people used to ask me, Jonny, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, well, Mrs. Teacher, what I want to do when I grow up is I want to get paid for chatting shit about straight people for 15 minutes from the comfort of my own home, possibly wearing pants, possibly not. So thank you very much, James Goss, for making that dream a reality. So yeah, to introduce myself, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jonny, which is short for androgyny. And for those of you who do know me, my name is still the same. That doesn't change. So I am a non-binary person now. But I imagine most of you. Hey, we've got some in the room. In my room, there are some more in the room somewhere. They just appear in my house. It's just what happens when you're openly queer. You collect them. So I imagine most of you are familiar with these terms. But for those of you who don't know what that means, essentially, while most of you watching are all ones and zeros, I'm a fucking 9. My pronouns are they, them, and all that, dickhead. I like doing these things. You're all a very socially conscious audience. I probably don't need to tell you. I probably don't need to tell you all this, but just to make sure we're all on the same page. Essentially, non-binary is a subgenre of being transgender, categorized by not being fully aligned with either one of the primary binary genders, male or female. Essentially, I am to transgender people what Limp Bizkit is to music. Not just a rock band, not cool enough to be a rap group, but some combination of the two that's as revolutionary as it is annoying, and which most people only like ironically. So yeah, I am a transgender person. Up until I was about 23, I used to call myself a transvestite. For those of you who aren't familiar with the nuances and the differences of these terms, let me just give you a brief overview of some of the different transgender terminologies that I'll be using today. So a transvestite is essentially someone whose gender matches the gender they were assigned at birth, but wears clothes that aren't associated with that gender. For example, a man who prefers to wear dresses, or a woman who only has one pair of trousers that has a ketchup stain on that's been there since Bloodstock 2009. Whereas a transgender person is someone whose gender is different to the one they were assigned at birth. Now, if you've ever seen a right-wing comedian or speaker, which you probably haven't, because as I've been led to believe, we've cancelled all of them, and there are no prominent right-wing figures on TV, radio, theatre, the whole internet, or any major government. So you've probably never seen this. But if you have managed to see one of these before they are extinct, you may have heard them mocking this idea by saying, oh, well, so that's men identifying as women, women identifying as non-binary. Well, if they can do that, why can't I identify as someone whose wife didn't leave me 2 years ago because I'm insufferable? Checkmate, the libs. It's a bit of a misnomer to say that trans people identify as male or female, by the way. Trans people don't identify as their gender. They just are the gender that they are. That is who they are. In the same way that someone like Louis C.K. probably doesn't identify as a sex pest, doesn't change the fact that he definitely is. So gender is a social construct. Sex is an arbitrary oversimplification of observed characteristics, whereas Louis C.K.'s penis is unfortunately tangible. I was talking about trans terms, wasn't I? Transitioning is when transgender people begin their journey to feel more at home with their gender through methods such as hormone replacement therapy, reassignment surgery, Community, or attending Quantum Leopard Comedy Club. We are claiming this as ours, James. Sorry, Quantum Leopard is trans now. You can't do anything about it. Transparent is a transgender person with at least one child. A transistor is a trans woman with at least one sibling. Transport is where rich trans people keep their yachts. It's also the opposite of trans starboard on said yacht, the more you know. Transit stands for Transgender Information Technology. Transgressions are what you're all doing if you're not laughing at these jokes. A transplant is where trans people are mass generated in order to keep up with industrial demand. Translator is trans slang for goodbye. And to transcend is what I probably should have done with this routine about 2 punchlines ago. But I've still got 4 more. Transfer is the hair-like substance that grows on us trans people. Let's not even get into transferees. Transactions speak louder than trans words.
Nice.
The Transpennine Express to Edinburgh via Haymarket, Lockerbie, Carlisle, Penrith, Oxenholme Lake District, Lancaster, Preston and Bolton has been delayed by approximately 24 minutes. And a Transformer is a Japanese toy line released in the 80s that has since been developed into a multimedia empire, including cartoons, comics, and even a series of blockbuster movies that are ultimately responsible for the travesty that is the fame of Shia LaBeouf. Never let it be said that the transgender community is without its crime and regrets. So I have been out as non-binary since about 2018, but I've known I was trans for a while before that. I remember the first time I experienced gender dysphoria was when I was about 12 years old, which was the first time I discovered the phenomenon known as heterosexual pornography. Now, if you've never experienced heterosexual pornography, it's remarkably similar to normal pornography, but the acting is much less convincing. It is the thing. I do enjoy straight pornography, but I enjoy it the same way that I enjoyed watching the IT Crowd. You know, there's some good content in there, but it's very by the books, often problematic, and uncomfortable to enjoy when you remember that it's probably directed by an abusive bigot. I should point out the original punchline to that bit was I enjoy straight porn like the movie Avatar, visually very pleasing, but I couldn't give a fuck about the protagonist. But then I realized that movie is 12 years old, and I feel like I'm stretching beyond the point where it's culturally relevant. So I thought, what's more culturally relevant than the 2009 blockbuster movie? It's one written by a transphobe that finished its original one in 2010. Yes. This rate, if you want a culturally relevant joke to 2021, come see me in 2032. I'll have a punchline by then, I promise. Heterosexual porn. So yeah, when I was 12 years old, I started going through puberty and I was having a really conflicting reaction to this pornographic material. I was simultaneously, aroused, but also wildly uncomfortable in my body, and I didn't know what this meant because in 2008, when I was 12, yes, sorry to ruin all of your evenings by reminding you of the unforgiving past of time and entropy. In 2008, when I was 12, you would have been hard-pressed to find any transgender representation in popular media that wasn't a David Walliams punchline. So I thought maybe at first, I thought that the fact that I was having this conflicting emotions watching straight porn was maybe that meant that I was gay. But to be fair, when I was 12 years old, I also thought that bumming was when 2 consenting individuals smushed their buttocks together and farted into each other's anuses. I maybe wasn't sexually informed or mature enough to be defining my sexuality in such a way. So what followed then was an almost decade of unrecognized gender dysphoria eating away at my mental health, hindering my social, romantic, and sexual life. Not entirely. It's the thing, like I weird because I do quite enjoy sex. It is one of my favorite things to do with my penis. Except of course for painting it blue, putting wheels on the shaft, and drawing a face on the tip, and pretending it's a stunt double for Thomas the Tank Engine. But sex is a reasonably close second. And it's a confusing thing. Hang on. You're transgender. You experience gender dysphoria, but you enjoy having sex with your penis? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I mean, I prefer someone else's, but mine's fine. It's weird because a lot of people do assume that if you're trans, you have to hate every aspect of your body. And I hate a lot of aspects of my body, but honestly, in terms of my penis, I'm quite indifferent to it. And so are most of my partners. Oh, was that a bit too close to home? Sorry. But for me, a lot of trans people, gender dysphoria isn't necessarily about your genitals. Like, don't get me wrong. If I was given a choice, I'd probably opt for something else. You know, maybe a second anus so I could harmonize my farts. But I'll take what I'm given. Another common misnomer with trans people is that transitioning is about feeling more comfortable sexually. And that is a factor for a lot of people. It certainly is a factor with me. But an equally large part of that is social, because we live in a culture where you are expected to aggressively gender strangers. Now, if you're cis, you might not notice this. You might not even notice when you're doing it. But as a society, we're obsessed with knowing what genitals a stranger has, whether it's drunk strangers in the bar yelling, "Oi, mate, you a boy or a girl?" Which I hate being asked, because they don't care if I'm a boy or a girl. What they want to know is it gay that I want to fuck you? To which the answer is always yes. They don't give a fuck. All they want to know is if I have somewhere to accommodate their penis without the need for external lubricant, which the answer is depends on my IBS.
Oh no! Oh dear!
Oh Christ!
I prepared 15 minutes, but I might get through 10. But it's not just drunk dickheads in bars. We all do this. Guaranteed. Like, the first question most people ask when someone you know gives birth is, "Oh, is it a boy or a girl?" You should know on the surface sounds like a reasonable question to ask when your friend has produced offspring. But strip away the innuendo. What you're really asking is, how's your baby gonna piss? There is no reason on earth you would need to know that. You do not need to know the genitals of your friend's baby. Because transphobes and this leads me nicely onto bathrooms, by the way, because transphobes are so obsessed with where we all go to piss. It's, well, whenever I walk towards the toilets in any given establishment, you can almost guarantee there's going to be a couple of cis women muttering and watching me to make sure I don't go into the wrong toilet, because, you know, we can't have a trans woman using a women's toilet. Yeah, what if the other women are uncomfortable with her penis, which I can only foresee being an issue if she whips out in the middle of the bathroom and pisses in the sink, which, spoiler alert, most of us don't tend to do. But I do get the concern. I think I've come up with a solution, actually. What I propose is that we start to petition bathroom designers to design women's bathrooms in such a way that all the toilets are separated from each other via some tall barriers, and maybe a lockable door in some kind of cubicle shape. If women were designed this way, everyone would have a lot more privacy, and women would not be remotely uncomfortable with a trans woman using a women's bathroom. They wouldn't have any reason to feel threatened, and if they did, then maybe they don't actually have legitimate concerns. Maybe they are just dog whistling for the systematic removal of transgender rights. But for the record, I generally use the gents' toilets for the sake of avoiding this awkwardness. Because truth be told, I did once get into a lot of trouble for using a ladies' toilet. You know, I was in there doing my business like you do, and then 45 minutes later, my IBS was particularly bad that day. 45 minutes later, there was an aggressive knock on the door, and a voice saying, "What the fuck do you think you're doing in here? Get out now!" And I wasn't having any of it. You know, I stood up for myself and said, "No, you listen here. I'm here the same reason everyone else wants to be here. I just want to do a poo. I'm not here to make anyone feel uncomfortable with my presence or to sexually harass anyone. I'm sorry that the shape of my genitals don't match the shape of your genitals, but I'm not bothering anyone. Last time I checked, I'm just here doing my own thing. I'll be out of here as soon as you let me finish evacuating my trans bowels in peace." At which point, to her credit, she did say, "I don't give a fuck what genitals you have. If you don't get out of my bathroom, I am going to have to call the police." Which in hindsight, she may have had a point. How much time have I got left, James? I feel like I've whizzed through that.
You have done 13 minutes.
13. I thought you said 30 for a second. I was like, fucking hell, I'm so sorry. That's fine. Cool. Yeah, so thank you all for watching. I always like doing these explicitly left-wing comedy nights, such as Quantum Leopard, because I won't be the first one to say this, but being a left-wing comedian is a fucking weird experience. Like the entire comedy industry, at least in this country, is criticised for being too left-wing, too unbiased towards the left, and there isn't enough space on platforms for right-wing comedians. Which, if you've ever been to about 80% of comedy nights or met any comedians, you'll know for a fact isn't true. Most comedy clubs are painfully centrist. Andrew Lawrence was still getting regular gigs up until he was racist towards the England football team. That's the line you have to cross for most comedy clubs to actually deplatform you. Comedy is not left-wing. The only reason people think comedy is left-wing is because I think it's fair to say that the general political landscape of this country is on the centre-right and moving further right every election. We've gone from Brown to Cameron and Clegg to a Cameron majority to May to Johnson. We're moving further right, and as such, the centre is moving further right as well. And when you've got a political centre in a nation that's so far gone from the actual centre of politics, anyone who's more left-wing than you will feel like a left-wing comedian, which means if you're a right-wing person, comedy will feel unanimously left-wing compared to your views. If you're on the centre-right, most comedians will still seem left-wing to you. But if you're on the left, there's like 4 left-wing comedians. And that's me, James Ross, and Jedward. Right? Because if you're left wing, there is so much discourse around what constitutes as left wing. Like, it's a hot topic of discourse for some people. But for some people, being left wing, means you believe in workers' rights and prosperity, supporting unions, etc. For others, it's more about general welfare and social democracy, which strives for a society which everyone has a base standard of living facilitated by the state, regardless of whether they're able or willing to work. And for others, it's more about eating Jeff Bezos' corpse while taking a shit on Thatcher's grave. And if that's what left-wing comedy means to you, I'm your not guy. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I will hopefully soon in the future be attending a live Quantum Leopard gig once the pandemic is not necessarily over, but has a death count lower than other Tory policies. So we'll thank you. That's all for me. See you later.